You all, welcome to Metric Hub channel. So today I'm going to do a revision on personal management N5. Right, we are going to prepare for an ICASE test 2 revision. So I'm going to cover ICASE test 1 and test 2 revision so that you can be able to prepare for the coming exam, right, for personal management N5. Right. So I'm going to start with question 1, which is on section A. Right, section A, you are supposed to answer every question. You are supposed to answer every question. So I'm going to start with question 1. Right, question 1. Right. So it reads: various options are given as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the correct answer and write it next to the letter A to D. Right, you are supposed to choose the correct answer from the A to D. Right. So question 1.1: the systematic gathering and interpretation of information. We call it that is what you call a research. Research is defined as the systematic collection, gathering, and presentation of data or of information. That's what you call research. Research. All right. Let's go to 1.2. Information from existing files and documents used for specific purposes. Information that is from existing files that the management can use, right, to solve maybe a problem. We call it we call it historical study. Historical study, information that is already available, right? The information that is readily available. So you don't need to research on or to do a research on to find the solution to that problem, because already there are incidents that took place and they were recorded, and there were solutions also that were recorded. So we just go back to the existing files and look for a solution, right? So there's no need for research, right? So let's go to 1.23. Dash can be carried out personally by trained observers, or it can be by mechanical means, right? So what can be carried out by trained observers, that's what you call observation. Observation. Observations. People who are trained can be able to what? To carry out what you call observations. Observations. Right. Let's move on to 1.4. The most common form of field study, which should always be conducted in such a way that all data obtained is accurate, valid, and reliable, right? The most common form of field study, right? We have different forms of field study, but the most common one is what you call a survey. A survey. A survey, right? That's the common form of a field study, right? Let's move on to 1.5. 1.5. 1.5, right? 1.5. When employees actually act out an imaginary situation, that's what you call stimulation. Stimulation, right? It is when maybe employees are asked to do a role play, just to play so that they can be able to imagine the situation, right? That's what you call stimulation. Stimulation, right? So let's now go to 1.6. Verbal or written description of a real life situation. That's what you call a case study. A case study is based on a real life situations. Right? We talk about case study of maybe of famine in other countries like like Somalia. There's a case study that was carried out, right, for drought and also for hunger. Right? You can find that it is a case study. Real life problems, right? Records are kept, right? So let's move on to the next question, which is 1.7. A survey must ensure what it is supposed to measure. A survey must measure what it is supposed to measure. That's what you call validity. Validity. A survey must measure what it is supposed to measure. Right? That's what you call validity. Right, let's go to 1.6. The survey should have the same results if repeated. That's what you call reliability. Reliability. You're saying the survey is supposed to be reliable, supposed to be having a reliability. Meaning to say, when a test is measured repeatedly, it's supposed to produce the same results, supposed to give the same results. Right. Okay, let's move on to 1.9. 1.9. Only facts should be used. Only facts should be used, and it must be absolutely correct. That's what you call accuracy. Accuracy. Facts should be used so that you can be able to obtain correct information. That's what you call accuracy, right? 1.10, which is monitoring of human resource turnover. That's what you call separation. Separation, it is under the, the functions of the human resource, right? Under separation. Under separation, right? Let's move on to the next question. Right. All right. Question two. Question two. Right. It says indicate whether the following statements are true or false. We are supposed to indicate if the statement is true or false. Right. So let's go to 2.1. 2.1. 2.1. Right. The purpose of obtaining information in facts is so that one can use the information or effects to determine cause and effects relationship. That's true. That's a true statement, right? That's a true statement. The purpose of obtaining information and facts is just so that we can use that information or effects to determine the cause and the effects, right? Let's go to 2.2. Staff selection is one of these reasons for conducting research into human resources management. That's true. That's true. It's also another reason of what? Of conducting a research, right? Selection, staff selection. Right. Let's go to number 2.3. A successful research project goes through 3 steps, namely information gathering, presentation and analysis, and interpretation. That's true. That's true. It's a true statement, right? These are the steps, right, in the what research project, whereby there is gathering information. After the information has been gathered, the information is presented on a pie chart or a bar graph or a picture graph, and it is analyzed, and then it is also interpreted. Right. Let's go to 2.4. A way of promoting participation in a workforce is to acknowledge the ideas and perceptions of employees by conducting surveys. Right, that's true. That's true. Right, 2.5, scientific research needs to be done in order for a hypothesis to be tested. Right, that's true. Right. When we want to test a hypothesis, we need to do what you call scientific research, right? It needs to be done, right? Let's go to 2.6. 2.6. Field studies are not expensive and are popular for obtaining a lot of information in a short time. Field studies, they are not expensive and they are popular. That's true. That's true. They are not expensive. Right. Let's go to 2.7. An experiment compares 2 situations to test whether an idea is true or false. 2.7. 2.7. That's true. That's true. Right. We can do an experiment. Right. 2.8, a control group refers to when different sets of quantitative data are compared, thus false. A control group is the one group that is used to compare, right? To compare situations with the experimented group, right? Job applications from unsuccessful candidates is an example of internal records that can be used for historical studies. That's true. That's true. Right. And then SWOT analysis is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strength. That's true. The statement is true. Right. That's true. Right. A SWOT analysis is for strength, W for weaknesses, O for opportunities, and T for threats. T for threats. Right. Um, let's go to the next question, which is on section B. Section B. Right. Section B. Right. Question 3. Question 3. Question 3. Let's go to question 3. Right. Question 3. Right. So I'm going to read, right. Question 3, 3.1, name and explain 5 types of assessments. Right. The assessments are those tests that are done to identify maybe the best candidate, right, for the job, right? So they are assessment tests. The first one that we're going to talk about is what you call assessment centers. Assessment centers. Assessment centers. These are centers whereby, so these are programs whereby various stimulations, exercises are provided so that candidates will be able to be assessed on their ability to solve problems and also their ability to think fast and also their intelligence. Assessment centers. Assessment centers. Assessment centers. Right. We also have what you call competence. 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 A competence test. Competence test. Right. This is carried out also in a stimulated or real life situations. So the objective to see if the applicant is able to perform his specific task. Is he able to perform his task right? We also have another assessment, which is what we call aptitude, aptitude, aptitude test, right? Aptitude test, right? So this kind of test, it is testing the ability for the candidate or the applicant to perform a particular task. For example, is he able to type? Is he able to, does he have the ability to type? Is he able to type? They want to test the ability to perform a particular task, right? Also have another, there's also another assessment, which is what you call cognitive, right? Whereby they want to test the candidate's reasoning. Is he able to reason? Is he able to reason? Right. Reasoning test. Right. And lastly is what you call interest test. Interest test. Here, it tests the to see if the candidate is interested in his job. It tests if the candidate is likely to be happy with his job. Is he happy performing his job, or is he happy? Does the job make him happy? Right. His ability to find happiness in his job. Is he able is he happy with his job? Right. Let's go to 3.2, 3.2, 3.2, right? List the 5 specific placement strategies, right? So we have what you call internal labor strategy, internal labor strategy, internal labor strategy, internal labor strategy, whereby the management or the organization has a regulation that they can only employ employees or potential employees from an entry level or an entry level within the organization. So it is a policy that employees, they can only employ general workers, right? The rest positions can be done through promotion, right? Because we also have what we call external labor strategy, whereby an organization can employ uh, employees from the external sources, right, within an organization, right. We also have what you call experimental experimental strategy or replacing, right. We also have what you call an interim strategy or replacing. Another one is what you call labor pool strategy. Labor pool strategy or placing. Labor pool placing, whereby an employee can source maybe candidates from outside the organization, from the labor market. They source potential employees from the labor market, right? So let's move on to question 3.3. Question 3.3. What are the 5 objectives of induction? 5 objectives of induction. All right. So we are going to talk about the aims of induction. 3.3. They want to make the first days easier. To make the first days more easier. Right. They also want to ensure that the organization becomes productive. To ensure productivity as soon as possible. Right. They also want to create realistic expectations. To create realistic expectations. They want to create realistic expectations on the employee right, and also on the side of the employer, right. They also the other purpose of induction is to instill a positive image for the organization. To instill a positive image. To instill a positive image for the organization. To instill a positive image of the organization. And lastly, they want to eliminate accidents. They would want to eliminate accidents and wastage. Accidents and wastages. Right. Let's go to question 3.4. Question 3.4. Give 5 advantages of internal recruitment sources. What are the advantages of the organization to recruit internally? Advantages of internal recruitment. Advantages of internal recruitment. 3.4, right? Organizations want to recruit internally. What are the advantages? Maybe, if, for example, they might want to perceive the culture of the organization. They want to avoid dilution of culture. They also want to save cost saving. They would also want to motivate employees to perform. They want to motivate employees to perform. Right. And also, management might recruit internally because they want to increase productivity. And also to increase employees' morale, increased motivation. They want to increase motivation on the employees so that they can be motivated to work what they feel like the organization can acknowledge good work done. And also, lastly, to improve morale. They internally recruit to improve morale of the employees. Right. Let's go to uh, question 4. Right. Let's go to question 4. Right. 4.1. Name and explain 10 pitfalls, potential pitfalls of a performance appraisal. Right. So we are saying a performance appraisal is an evaluation method that is used to assess the employee's performance. Right. So we're going to name and explain 10 potential pitfalls of performance appraisal. Right. So we're going to explain the pitfalls. Right. For question 4. Question 4. 4.1, right? So we can find that it has an impact on trust, impact on employee trust, right? And also we can find that it does also have an impact on teamwork, right? And you can find that there's lack of recognition for taking risk. We are saying even if someone took a risk to accomplish a goal, the risk is not recognized, right? Lack of recognition, right, for risk taking, for risk-taking. Right. And also you can find that it also results in administrative overload, whereby too much paper load, right? Too much paper load on supervisors and managers. And then you can find also that this process, the performance, the measurements is very poor. Poor measurements poor measurements on performance, right? And you can find that there is the actual impact of the process. So you can find that the performance appraisal may not result in much change, right? Impact in actual impact it does not uh, results in what and in a much change, right? Right. And you can find that trade unions, they are in opposition. Trade unions oppose the process. Trade union opposes the process. Right. Opposition. It does not, they do not support the process. Right. You can also find out that there is design problems. Right, there are problems in designing the program, right? Is what you call design problems, right? And also, you can find that inappropriate results, inappropriate uh, standards, inappropriate standards, inappropriate standards, inappropriate standards, right? It might also result in inappropriate standards, right? So in which way? Right. So these standards could be a lack of relevant standards, or a standard could be subjective, unclear, and realistic. And lastly, you can find that negative results are ignored. Right. Ignored results, ignored results, ignored results, ignored results, ignored results. So we did talk about them, the impact on what? On performance appraisal, right? So let's go to 4.2. 4.2. Give 6 purposes of job evaluation. Right, we're going to discuss purposes of a job evaluation. Purposes of a job evaluation, which is 4.2. Right. So job evaluation is normally used uh, when, for example, it can be used to draw up a job description. Used to draw up a job description. It is used to draw up a job description and a job specification. Right. And then you also can find that um, job evaluation is also used to assist human resource in remuneration negotiations. Assist in remuneration negotiations. right? It also can be used to develop a fair and equitable remuneration structure. To develop a fair and equitable remuneration structure. And also you can find that job evaluation can also be used to ensure a reasonable link between organizational salaries. To ensure a reasonable link, link between organizational salary and salaries from other organizations. From other organizations. Right. And so these are the uses of a job evaluation. Right. So let's move on to question 4.3, which is list 4 job evaluation systems. Right. We're going to list job evaluation systems. Right. So we have what you call one Pearson. Peterson system. We also have what you call Perron's system. We have what you call a Hay method and the Q method. So these are the 4 job evaluation methods or strategies. Right. Okay, let's move on to question 5. Right. Question 5 says, explain how management can ensure the job satisfaction of employees. How would they ensure job specification on employees? How can they ensure job specific? How will they measure? How can management measure the job specification of employees? Right. They measure by for example, there are indicators that might show that employees are happy at work, that they are satisfied, right? How? By a high level of what? Of productivity. High level of productivity. Right? If the organizational productivity is high, it shows that employees are satisfied with their job. right? And also, it might be measured by reduced staff turnover, reduced staff turnover, reduced staff turnover. Right, when there is a reduced number of people who are leaving the organization, and also reduce the absenteeism when people are no longer, or there is a reduction in people not coming to work. When there is a reduction of people not coming to work, right, that means there is people are satisfied. And also it might be a healthy organizational image, a healthy organizational image, a healthy organizational image. It shows that people are satisfied with their job, and eventually positive organizational culture, positive organizational culture, positive organizational culture. Right, and climate, it shows that employees are happy, are happy at work. They are satisfied with their job. Right. Okay. Let's move on to question 5.2. List 6 influences, factors influencing the level of job satisfaction. So we are going to list um, factors that might influence job specification. Right. So it might be work, challenging work, or mentally challenging work. Right. 5.2. Right. Mentally challenging, mentally challenging, mentally challenging, interesting work. Right. And also it might be a job with a high status, a job with a high status, a job with a high status. Right. Someone might be satisfied with a job with high status, or one might be satisfied with a rewards that matches rewards uh, which which matches which matches uh, his efforts, his effort, the level of his efforts. Right. And then it might others, they might be satisfied with physical environment, a physical environment, or physical conditions, physical conditions, physical conditions, like a well ventilated room, or office that is safe and secured. Some employees are motivated by a supportive colleagues, supportive colleagues, right? Or they might be motivated by his expectations, when his expectation matches with job content. Employees expectations and job content matches. When this matches, a person might be satisfied. Right. Right. Let's move on to question question 5.2. Distinguish each of the following terms. Absenteeism. Right. Absenteeism refers to absent without leave. When an employee absenteeism without notice, that's what you call absenteeism. Absence without leave. When one decide to not to come to work without leave, right? That's what you call absenteeism, right? Absenteeism, right? So it also can be defined as a situation whereby an employee fails to report to work without or with or for no reason. For no reason. If the employee decide to not to go to work for no reason, right? Right. Let's go to 5.32. 5.32. Right. So 5.32, we were supposed to define what you call personnel turnover. Personnel turnover. Personnel turnover, it is how quickly employees move in and out of the organization. How quickly employees move out of the organization, in and out. The rate of employees moving in and out of the organization. That's what you call personnel turnover. The rate at which people are leaving, are coming in and leaving the organization. Right. Let's go to question 5.4. 5.4. State 5 factors that cause absenteeism. That we are going to discuss factors that causes absenteeism. Absenteeism. Factors that might cause absenteeism. Right. Right. The factors might include factors that might cause absenteeism. Factors causing absenteeism. Right. It might be illness. 5.4. It might be illness. If one is ill, Or maybe someone is not satisfied with his job dissatisfaction. Right? One might absent himself maybe because of substance abuse, or it might be due to personal problems. One is maybe having a problem which is personal, or it might be due to transport problem. It might be due to age and gender. Age and gender might cause someone to not to report to work. And lastly, it might be due to maybe relationships at work problems in relationships. At work. Right. Or it might be due to boring work or repetitive work, whereby one is bored of repeating the same work every day. In the boring work. Right. So these are the causes of what? Of absenteeism. Right. So these are the causes of absenteeism. Let's go to question 6. Question 6. Right. Right. All right. Question 6 says, question 6. Right. Give 5 advantages of an incentive scheme. Right. What are the advantages of giving incentive scheme? Right. You can find that incentive schemes, their rewards expectational employees directly. And also you can find that it provides opportunities for employees to gain greater job satisfaction. And then you can find that it enables an organization to become more profitable. And also it fosters team spirit, and as well as it enables an organization to retain trained, skilled employees, right? So we're going to discuss, right, the advantages, right? Rewards, employees, expectationally, right? Expectational, right? And also it fosters teamwork, team spirit, right? And also it provides opportunity for employees to gain to gain greater job satisfaction. Provides employees to gain greater job satisfaction. Right. And it also enables the organization to become productive. Become productive. And it also enables the organization to retain trendy and skilled employees. The organization to retain skilled and trained employees. Right. Right. Let's move on to question 6.2. List the 6 external sources of recruitment. 6 external sources of recruitment. Right. 6.2. 6 external. We're supposed to list how many? 9 external sources of recruitment. Right. So you're asked to just list, you're supposed to list, right? Right. So we are going to list external sources, right? We have private employment agencies. Private employment agencies. Right. We also have public commission. Services. We also have headhunting. Headhunting. We also have walk-ins. We have what we call professional associations. All right. We have also temporary help. Temporary help. Campus recruitment. Campus recruitment. Campus recruitment. We also have professional association, we talked about it. We have what we call executive search. Executive search. Right. Consultants. Right. Right. We have referrals. etc. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which one is left out? Headhunting, we talked about it. Professional associations. We also have advertisement. Advertisement. Right. Let's go to question 6.3. Briefly discuss campus recruitment is one of the external sources of recruitment. Right. So we're going to discuss campus recruitment on 6.3. On 6.3. 6.3. 6.3. Right. So campus recruitment now, it is when the employers they visit the campus, right, of the TVET colleges or university. They will interview the candidates that will be in the final year. For example, if they visit the TVET, they will interview candidates who are doing N6, right? So prospective employees from the source also include students who have been studying for the organization and they are having maybe maybe bursaries from organization, right? So this bursary might often include a short service contract on completion of studies, right? So organizations also organize open days for visits and opportunity to address staff or sorry, students, right? So students who are interested in working for that organization can then speak to designated representatives, right? That's campus recruitment, right? Campus recruitment, right? So I'm just going to summarize here. Uh, Employers from uh, companies, organizations, visits, visits, uh, campuses or universities to source out, to source out potential candidates. Right. So, right. So, potential employees, sorry, prospective employees from this source also, they include the students, right? So they are interviewed, they interview, they interview, they interview students who are doing, their final, who are on final year of their study, right? So they are looking for those people, right? Basically, this is the information, right? So give one external factor affecting the selection process. Factors that might affect the external process, right? Factors affecting external processes, recruitment processes, right? 6.5, you can find that bribery might uh, can be also a factor that maybe affect the recruitment, or it might be due to favorism or favoritism, where a candidate is favored, right? Favoritism, or it might be due to government regulations, government, government, government regulations, or requirements. Right? Government requirements and regulations. Right. Okay, let's move on to question 7. Question 7. List 10 unsafe actions. 10 unsafe actions and conditions that can jeopardize health and safety at the workplace. So we're going to discuss conditions that might jeopardize safety. Question 7. Question 7. Right. It might be due to failure to comply with the regulations. Failure to comply with the regulations. Right. It might be due to negligence. It might be due to negligence. Right. It might be inadequate in ventilation, inadequate ventilation. Right. It might also be due to presence of hazardous hazardous um, hazardous materials. It may be due to poor housekeeping. Poor housekeeping. It might be due to lack of enforcement of safety rules. Lack of enforcement of safety rules. It might be due to fact that wrong persons are put on a particular task. Putting a wrong person on a particular task. Putting wrong person on a particular task. Right. It might be due to ineffective specifications for safety clothing. Ineffective specifications for safety clothing. Right. And also it might be lack of training on health and safety. Lack of training on health and safety. Lack of the training. Right. It might be also due to improper instructions. When the manager is giving improper instructions. It might be also insubordination. Right. Right. So we have exhausted many points. Right. It might be absence of safety standards. Absence of safety standards. Absence of safety standards. Right. So we've exhausted as many as we could. We have exhausted as many as I could manage. Right. So let's go to question 2.1 or 7.2. Give 5 benefits of management by objective. Right. Management by objective is when it is an job evaluation method whereby the employee and the immediate supervisor or manager meet and jointly discuss on the objectives to be, or maybe on goals and objectives of the job, right? And also they also set standards and criteria on how the job is going to be done, right? After an agreed period of time, they will meet to evaluate the performance of what? Of the employee, right? So what are the advantages of job management by objective? 7.2. Advantages of management by objective. Advantages of management by objectives. 7.2. Right. There is better management. There is better management since the employee and the immediate supervisor will meet and discuss, right, goals and objectives. There is higher productivity. Higher productivity since there is feedback. There is feedback on performance, right? And also you can find that there is enhanced communication since the management, the immediate supervisor and the employee, they have to meet to discuss. So communication is enhanced. They meet frequently to discuss and also to evaluate the employee performance. And also you can find that it improves what? Uh, there is improved quality of life. There is improved quality of life. There is improved quality of life. Right. And also it enhances effective control. There is effective control. There is an effective control. Right. And lastly, it promotes an opportunity for creativity, thinking, opportunity for creative thinking. And also it promotes what? It promotes participation and coordination, right? It promotes participation and coordination, right? So let's move on to 7.3, right? Briefly define what is career development, right? Career development, it is a way where the organization sustain on or increase employee productivity or employee productivity while also insisting them to meet the challenges of the world outside the world, the challenges of the world outside the organization. That's what we call career development. right? And then job satisfaction, job specification. It is the general attitude that the employee has, general attitude that the employee has about his job, right? So a person might have a positive or a negative attitude, right? And then screening, it is the process of eliminating this process of eliminating uh, candidates who do not meet the job requirements. That's what you call screening. It's eliminating candidates that do not meet the job requirements, right? And then we also have what you call selection. Selection is the process whereby the organization identifies candidates whose competence meet the requirements. And then recruitment, it is the process of um, um, identifying candidates, right, who meet the job requirements outside the organization, right? So I'm going to just answer a question. So I'm sure I have already answered these questions. Right? Recruitment, it's a process of what? Of searching. It is whereby we are searching, organization is searching, identifying, and attracting the best candidate who meets the job requirement, the suitable candidate who meets the job requirement, outside, who meets the job requirement outside the organization, Right. So thank you for your time. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, to comment, so that I'll be able to improve and give quality services. Thank you so much. Have a good day.